There are three things about your brain that most people never really think about. Not because they're hidden, but because they are uncomfortable to accept. And if you understand all three, the conclusion of this video is going to change how you think about truth, personality, and even about yourself. So make sure you stay until the end. Let's start with the first one. Here's the first thing you probably don't know about your brain. It doesn't care about truth in the way you think it does. What it cares about is not whether a picture of the world is accurate, but whether that picture is good enough to let you function. From an evolutionary perspective, this creates a very clear trade-off. You can either consistently question everything or hold to a general belief that works most of the time, and the second option wins. Asking for evidence for everything is cognitively expensive, slow, and often paralyzed. A brain that's constantly saying, wait, let me verify this, is a brain that is hesitating. So evolution favors a different strategy: to accept a general rule quickly, even if they are imperfect. Once you understand that, a lot of things starts to make sense. Beliefs are stronger than evidence because beliefs are designed to reduce cognitive load. Evidence demands effort. Beliefs allows action. That's why people defend ideas even when evidence contradicts them. This is not stability. It's efficiency. At least that's what the brain thinks so. If a belief worked well enough in the past, your brain treats questioning it as a risk, not as an upgrade. This also explains why useful stories survive longer than true ones. Parents tell children stories that are not literally true to shape behavior. Cultures pass down myths not because they're accurate, but because they coordinate action. The story doesn't need to be correct, it needs to work. So the brain is not trying to describe reality precisely. It's trying to create a simplified, usable model that lets you move through the world without skipping every few seconds to ask, is this really true? Now let's move on to the second thing most people misunderstand about the brain. Your personality is far less stable than you think it is. Most people believe they have a personality as if it's a fixed object that travels with them through life. But what you call your personality is mostly how you behave under familiar and predictable conditions. Change the conditions and the behavior changes. Put some under extreme stress. Take away resources. Introduce fear, humiliation, or sudden power. You don't get a distorted version of the person. You get a different behavioral system activating. This is because the brain is not a single unified decision maker. It is a collection of systems, each evolved to handle different situations. Some are designed for cooperation, some for defense, some for dominance, some for submission. Which one takes control depends most entirely on context. So personality is not a core identity. It is a statistical pattern. It describes how someone usually behaves when nothing extreme is happening. Stability doesn't come from the self. It comes from the environment. This is why people are often shocked by their own behavior in extreme situations. They say things like, that wasn't really me, but it was them, just not the version that usually gets activated. Now the third thing. This is the one people resist the most. Your memory is not a reliable record of the past, and it was never meant to be. Most people imagine memory as storage. Something happened, it gets saved, later it gets replayed. That's not how it works. Every time you remember something, your brain does three things. First, it reconstructs the event. It doesn't retrieve it. Second, it mixes that reconstruction with your current emotion, beliefs, and self-image. Third, it stores the updated version. So memory is not replayed, it is rewritten every time you think about it. And again, this is not a flaw. A perfectly accurate memory system would be psychologically destructive. If every failure stayed as painful as the first time, if every embarrassment stayed vivid, if every regret remains emotionally intact, you wouldn't adapt, you wouldn't move forward. So memory doesn't preserve truth, it preserves continuity. It reshapes the past to make present survivable. Before we connect everything, every dot, there's one important clarification. None of this means the brain is chaotic, random, or incapable of storing accurate information. You can still remember your name, your phone number, mathematical rules, language, or motor skills. And that's not a contradiction. Those memories are repeated constantly, emotionally neutral, and instrumentally useful, and verified by feedback every time you use them. So they get reinforced without reinterpretation. They don't threaten your identity. They don't need protection, so they stay stable. By contrast, memories that changes over time are usually emotional, social, and identity related. Those are not preserved for accuracy. They are preserved for psychological survivability. The principle is not that the brain stores false things. The principle is the brain stores what is useful, and in most everyday cases, what is useful happens to be true. The same applies to personality. Personality feels stable because modern environments are usually stable. Rules don't change often. Threats are limited. Social roles are consistent, so behavior looks consistent. When environment changes rapidly, whenever there is crisis, power, humiliation, scarcity, behaviors can shift much faster than people expect. And instead of saying a different system activated, we say, How did he change so fast? He became a completely different person. We prefer to believe personality is fixed because that belief saves cognitive load. It works most of the time, it requires less thinking, and that preference itself comes directly from thing number one. Now, we can connect all the pieces. Your brain is a piece of meat that accepts useful beliefs over accurate ones, switches behavior based on context, rewrite memory over time. These are not separate phenomena. These are expressions of the same underlying priority. From an evolutionary perspective, your brain does not ask what is true, what is consistent, what is accurate. It asks one question and one question only. Can this keep you going and functioning right now? Can you act? Can you function? Can you adapt? Can you remain integrated in your environment? If the answer requires simplifying reality, holds imperfect beliefs, changing who you are in different situations, or rewriting your own past, your brain will do it automatically. So the brain is not designed to show you reality as it is. It is designed to create a workable version of reality that keeps you alive, functional, and move forward. And once you understand that, a lot of human behaviors suddenly stop being confusing. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.